Law relating to foreign exchange management FEMA. Introduction. Meaning. FEMA is the Indian law that controls how foreign money USD, Euro etc. comes into and goes out of India. It ensures foreign exchange is used properly and protects India's economy. Points to remember. FEMA equals Foreign Exchange Management Act, 1999. Purpose. Regulate foreign exchange, promote trade and payments. Came into force. The 1st of June 2000. Replaced. FARA Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Nature. Civil law. FARA was criminal. Focus. Management, not punishment. Applies to all persons in India plus NRIs. Example. If an Indian wants to send money abroad to study, right pointing arrow FEMA rules apply. Regulatory framework. Meaning. Who makes FEMA rules and who enforces them. Points to remember. Act. FEMA 1999 Main Law. RBI. Issues regulations and directions. Central government. Makes rules at Enforcement Directorate. Investigates violations. APs banks FFMCs. Allowed to deal in Forex. Example. RBI can set how much money Indians can send abroad each year. Important definitions. Meaning. Key terms you must know to understand FEMA. We will cover each term below. Authorized person. Meaning. Entities approved by RBI to deal in foreign exchange. Points to remember. Banks. Money changers. Financial institutions. Selected individuals. Rare. Example. You cannot sell dollars on your own. Only a bank or authorized money changer can. Currency notes. Meaning. Physical money issued by RBI government. Points to remember. Includes banknotes and coins. Person cannot hold unlimited foreign currency physically. Example. USD notes in wallet equals foreign currency notes. Export. Meaning. Sending goods services from India to another country for payment. Points to remember. Must declare value. Must receive payment in permitted mode banking channels. Must follow RBI time limits. Example. Indian IT company providing software services to US client equals export. Foreign exchange. Meaning. Foreign money and assets denominated in foreign currency. Points to remember. Foreign currency USD, Euro, etc. Drafts, checks, deposits in foreign currency. Balance in foreign bank account equals Forex. Example. $500 in a US bank account equals foreign exchange. Foreign security. Meaning. Shares, bonds, or any financial instrument of a foreign company. Points to remember includes ESOPs from foreign employers. RBI rules apply for buying selling. Example. Shares of Apple or Tesla owned by an Indian equals foreign security. Person. Meaning. Anyone who can face legal action under FEMA. Points to remember. Individuals. Companies. Firms. Associations. Trusts. Societies. A person outside India can also be covered. Example. A company illegally sending funds abroad equals FEMA violation. Person resident in India. Meaning. Not citizenship. Duration-based residency. Points to remember. Stayed in India is greater than or equal to 182 days in last financial year. Purpose matters. Tourist going abroad does not equal NRI. Person living abroad for job studies equals NRI. Business employment abroad right pointing arrow resident outside India. Example. You live in UAE for job equals person resident outside India NRI. Repatriate to India. Meaning. Bringing foreign earnings back to India legally through banking channels. Points to remember. Convert foreign income to INR. Follow time limits set by RBI. Required in exports, foreign investments. Example. Exporter receives $10,000 right pointing arrow must bring to India bank. Special Director appeals. Meaning. Authority to hear appeals for FEMA penalty cases. Points to remember. Handles first level appeals. Higher appeal goes to appellate tribunal. Regulation and management of foreign exchange. Meaning. Rules to control how foreign money enters leaves India. Points. RBI controls Forex movement. Government sets overall policy. APs banks and money changers execute. Aim. Protect rupee and maintain stability. Example. Bank checks purpose before sending dollars abroad. Current account transactions. Meaning. Transactions for day-to-day needs, not for investment. Points. Trade in goods services. Travel expenses. Education abroad. Medical treatment abroad. Remittance to family abroad. Example. Paying university fees in UK equals current account transaction. Prohibition on drawal of foreign exchange. Meaning. Some transactions never allowed to send money for. Examples. Lottery winnings abroad. Remittance for banned magazines websites. Paying for foreign racing, gambling. Prior government approval for certain transactions. Meaning. Some current account transactions need central government approval. Examples. Travel to Nepal, Bhutan using Forex. Cultural tours sponsored abroad. Remitting greater than certain limits for gifts donations. Prior RBI approval for certain transactions. Meaning. RBI must approve large or sensitive payments. Examples. Remitting huge medical expenses. Large consultancy fees abroad. Big capital commitments disguised as current account. Schedule 3 transactions. Meaning. Transactions allowed up to specified limits without approval. Examples. Private visit abroad. Business travel. Gifts donations within limits. Foreign education limit linked to university bills. Liberalized remittance scheme LRS. Meaning. Scheme for residents to send money abroad freely. Key points. Limit. 250,000 United States dollars per financial year. For education, travel, gifts, investment, property abroad not allowed for crypto, lottery, gambling. Example. Sending money to buy shares in US stock market. Capital account transactions. Meaning. Transactions that change assets or liabilities abroad or in India. Points. Investments abroad. Buying property abroad. Receiving foreign investment in India. Loans to from foreign persons. Example. Indian firm borrowing from foreign bank equals capital account deal. Permissible capital account transactions. Meaning. Capital transactions allowed subject to FEMA rules. Examples. NRI investing in Indian real estate. Indian buying foreign shares using LRS. Classes of capital account transactions. 1 by residents in India. Foreign investments. Foreign property purchase. Giving loans abroad to by non-residents. Investing in Indian companies. Buying Indian property. Acquiring Indian securities. Realization, repatriation and surrender. Meaning. Bringing foreign money earned abroad into India within time. Points. Exporters must bring money to India. Must convert to INR. Follow RBI time limits, usually 9 months for exports. Duty to realize foreign exchange. Meaning. One must try to collect payment owed from abroad. Example. Exporter must chase foreign buyer for payment. Manner of repatriation. Meaning. Foreign earnings must come through banking channels. Not allowed. Cash hand carrying of large forex to avoid banking system. Period for surrender. Meaning. Time within which foreign currency must be deposited into bank. General rule. Within 30 days varies by RBI rules. Remittance of assets. Meaning. Sending assets money outside India when leaving, retiring, settling abroad. Includes. Sale of property. Bank balances. Inheritances. Special cases. Category. Key rule. Non-NRIs. Limited remittance allowed. NRIs PIOs. Freely repatriable up to limits. Companies. Can repatriate profits, dividends. Branch office closure. Can send closure funds abroad with RBI nod. Exemption from repatriation. Some foreign money can be kept abroad. Example. Foreign subsidiary profits. Possession of foreign currency. Residents can hold small limits of foreign cash for travel. Big amounts, right pointing arrow, declare and deposit. Receipt and payment method must be through authorized banks only. Acquisition of property in India. NRIs OCIs can buy residential commercial property. Not allowed to buy farmland, plantation. Export of goods and services. Exporters must declare value, receive payment in allowed mode, bring money back in time. Project exports. Indian companies doing overseas projects. Need RBI approval for funds abroad. Authorized person and RBI powers. RBI can inspect, penalize APs. Can issue binding directions. Adjudication and appeals. Levels. 1. Adjudicating authority. 2. Special Director Appeals. 3. Appellate Tribunal. 4. High Court Directorate of Enforcement Ed. Enforces FEMA and investigates violations. Penalties. Monetary penalty up to 3x amount. Property confiscation rare under FEMA. Compounding allowed, pay fine, close case. Compounding. Meaning. Settle violation by paying penalty to RBI. Useful for. Late reporting. Minor investment violations. Reserve Bank of India RBI. Role. Regulator of foreign exchange and banking system. Main functions. Monetary policy. Forex management. Regulation of banks. Issuing currency. Maintaining foreign reserves. Mini revision table. Topic. Meaning. FEMA. Manages foreign exchange. RBI. Regulates and issues rules. ED. Investigates violations. Current account. Day-to-day transactions. Capital account. Investment plus asset change. LRS limit. 250,000 United States dollars per year. NRI property. No farmland. Export receipts. Must be repatriated. 20 FEMA case-based questions and answers. KeyCap 1 case. An exporter receives 50,000 United States dollars from a U.S. buyer but keeps it in the foreign bank account for 1 year. Answer. Violation of FEMA. Export proceeds must be realized and repatriated within time prescribed by RBI, usually 9 months. KeyCap 2 case. A resident wants to send 300,000 United States dollars abroad in a year to study. Answer. Exceeds LRS limit of 250,000 United States dollars per FY. Needs RBI approval. KeyCap 3 case. NRI wants to purchase agricultural land in India. Answer. Not permitted. NRIs OCIs cannot buy agricultural land, plantation, farmhouse. KeyCap 4 case. An Indian resident gives 30,000 United States dollars to his brother in Dubai. Answer. Permitted under LRS within 250,000 United States dollars limit. KeyCap 5 case. A company receives FDI but delays reporting with RBI. Answer. Violation of reporting rules. Can be compounded by RBI. KeyCap 6 case. A traveler returning from USA holds 5,000 United States dollars cash and does not declare. Answer. Up to 2,000 United States dollars allowed to hold freely. Above limit must be declared and surrendered, right pointing arrow violation. KeyCap 7 case. An exporter fails to follow up for payment from a foreign buyer. Answer. Violation of duty to realize foreign exchange. KeyCap 8 case. Indian resident buys property in UK using LRS funds. Answer. Permitted under LRS within limit. KeyCap 9 case. Company remits profits earned in India to foreign parent company. Answer. Allowed for repatriation after applicable taxes. Combining and closing KeyCap case. A person invests in foreign lottery online. Answer. Prohibited. Foreign lottery gambling not allowed under LRS. KeyCap 1 case. Resident buys shares of U.S. company using credit card abroad. Answer. Not allowed. Overseas investment must follow LRS via banking channels. KeyCap 2 case. OCI inherits residential property in India. Answer. Permitted to acquire by inheritance. KeyCap 3 case. Foreign tourist wants to take 50,000 Indian rupees back home. Answer. Max 25,000 Indian rupees allowed to be taken out. Excess not allowed. KeyCap 4 case. Company borrows 1 million United States dollars from foreign bank without informing RBI. Answer. External commercial borrowing ECB regulations apply. Non-reporting, right pointing arrow violation. KeyCap 5 case. Branch office of foreign company closes in India and sends funds abroad without RBI approval. Answer. Violation. Winding up remittances require RBI approval. KeyCap 6 case. An NRI sells property in India and wants to remit sale proceeds abroad. Answer. Allowed up to 1 million United States dollars per FY subject to proof of funds source. KeyCap 7 case. Resident keeps 2,000 United States dollars cash received as honorarium abroad. Answer. Can keep up to 2,000 United States dollars. Not a violation. KeyCap 8 case. Company receives export proceeds in cryptocurrency. Answer. Not permitted. Export payment must be in freely convertible foreign currency, not crypto. KeyCap 9 case. An individual pays 15,000 United States dollars abroad for online gaming. Answer. If gaming equals gambling, betting, right pointing arrow prohibited. If casual gaming fee right pointing arrow allowed within LRS limit. Keycap 2 Keycap 0 case. NRI invests in Indian startup via normal savings account. Answer. Must use NRE NROFC account. Incorrect route right pointing arrow reporting violation. Quick memory notes for exam. Topic. Key rule. LRS limit. 250,000 United States dollars year. NRI cannot buy. Farm plantation land. Export proceeds realization. Generally 9 months. NRI property remittance. 1 million United States dollars year. Crypto for export. Crossmark not allowed. Holding foreign currency. 2,000 United States dollars allowed. Lesson 2. Foreign direct investment FDI. Regulatory framework. Meaning. The legal system that controls how foreign investors invest in India. Points to remember. Governed by FEMA, 1999. RBI plus central government regulate FDI. DPIIT issues consolidated FDI policy. FEMA non-debt rules 2019 apply. Indian companies must follow FDI limits and reporting rules. Introduction. Meaning. FDI equals foreign money coming into Indian business to get ownership control. Points to remember. Long-term investment by foreign investor. Foreign investor gets equity and management influence. Increases capital, jobs, technology. Allowed in most sectors except prohibited ones. Example. Google investing in Reliance Jio equals FDI. Intent and objective. Meaning. Why India allows FDI. Points to remember. Bring foreign capital into India, create employment. Develop infrastructure and technology. Boost exports and growth. Maintain control over strategic sectors. General conditions on FDI. Meaning. Basic rules applicable to all FDI. Points. Investment usually in equity instruments. Pricing guidelines must be followed. Know your customer KYC compliance. Sectoral caps apply. Reporting to RBI mandatory. Eligible investors. Meaning. Who can invest? Points. Non-resident entities, foreign companies. Non-resident individuals. NRIs and OCIs. Foreign government sovereign funds. Person from Pakistan, Bangladesh, right pointing arrow, government approval required. Entry routes for investment. Meaning. How FDI enters India. With approval or without. Points. Automatic route right pointing arrow, no government approval. Government route right pointing arrow, prior government permission required. Sector decides the route. Example. FMCG company equals automatic route. Defense equals government route for certain limits. Caps on investments. Meaning. Maximum FDI allowed in a sector. Points. Expressed as percentage, e.g. 74%, 100%. Sector-wise limits. Above limit right pointing arrow, government approval needed. Entry conditions on investment. Meaning. Extra rules for some sectors. Points. Minimum capitalization. Lock-in period. Performance conditions. Security clearance for sensitive sectors. Competent authority, meaning. Authorities that approve, monitor FDI. Points. DPIIT. RBI. Concerned ministry for government route cases. Cases which do not require fresh approval. Meaning. When investor does not need new approval. Points. Investments within approved limits. Conversion of existing investment into equity. Rights bonus share issue to foreign investors. Share transfer between two NRIs OCIs. Online filing for government approval. Meaning. FDI approval done online. Points. File on foreign investment facilitation portal FIFP. DPIIT forwards to concerned ministry. Time-bound processing. Track status online. Prohibited sectors. Meaning. FDI not allowed here. Key prohibited sectors. Atomic energy. Lottery. Gambling. Cannabis. Narcotics. Chit funds. Nitty companies. Agricultural plantation except permitted categories. Real estate business not construction. Permitted sectors. Meaning. Sectors where FDI is allowed, conditions may apply. Points. Most sectors open to 100% FDI. Automatic route in majority sectors. Agriculture and animal husbandry. Meaning. FDI rules for farming. Points. 100% FDI automatic for floriculture, horticulture, seeds, animal husbandry. No FDI in basic agricultural land purchase. Plantation sector. Meaning. Plantation crops. Points. 100% FDI allowed in tea, coffee, rubber, cardamom, palm oil. Includes plantation development and processing. Mining. Meaning. Extracting minerals. Points. 100% FDI automatic. Coal mining, steel mineral exploration. Atomic minerals right pointing arrow, government route only. Petroleum and natural gas. Meaning. Oil and gas exploration processing. Points. 100% FDI automatic for exploration and refining. Petroleum PSUs allow up to 49% if listed. Manufacturing. Meaning. Industrial production. Points. 100% automatic route. Contract manufacturing allowed. Defense. Meaning. Weapons and defense equipment. Points. 74% under automatic route. Above 74% right pointing arrow, government approval. Security clearance mandatory. Broadcasting carriage services. Meaning. Platforms that carry TV content, DTH, cable. Points. Up to 100% FDI allowed with conditions. Some subsectors have caps. Broadcasting content services. Meaning. TV channels programming. Points. Different caps. E.g. News channels 26% government route. Non-news channels 100% automatic. Print media. Points. Newspapers, news and current affairs right pointing arrow 26% government route. Scientific technical journals right pointing arrow 100%. Civil aviation. Points. Airports right pointing arrow 100% automatic. Air transport services right pointing arrow varying caps up to 100%. Foreign airlines allowed 49% in Indian carriers. Construction development. Points. 100% automatic. No minimum capital required. Restrictions removed to boost real estate. Industrial parks. 100% automatic route. Satellites. Government approval required. Private security agencies. 74% cap, 49% auto plus beyond government. Telecom services. 100% FDI allowed. Earlier cap 74%. Trading. 100% FDI. Wholesale, single brand retail, e-commerce rules apply. E-commerce, points 100% FDI in marketplace model. No FDI in inventory model. Example. Amazon right pointing arrow marketplace allowed. Retailer selling own goods only online right pointing arrow not allowed. Single brand retail SBRT. 100% FDI 49% automatic, beyond government. Products must be branded internationally. Multi-brand retail MBRT. 51% FDI allowed with state government approval. Duty-free shops. 100% automatic. Railway infrastructure. 100% automatic in most areas. Banking. Private banks right pointing arrow 74%. Public banks right pointing arrow 20% Government approval. Insurance pension. 74% in insurance. 74% in pension sector pharmaceuticals. Brownfield right pointing arrow 74% automatic plus Government above. Greenfield right pointing arrow 100% automatic. Types of instruments. Equity shares. Convertible debentures. Share warrants. No debt instruments. That's ECB route. Issue transfer of shares. Pricing guidelines apply. Filing of FCGPR, FCTRS with RBI. Rights bonus shares. Allowed for foreign shareholders on same basis as Indian holders. Remittance and reporting. Reporting to RBI mandatory. Timelines to be followed. Delay right pointing arrow compounding. Penalties. Civil penalties under FEMA. Appeal and compounding. Appeal right pointing arrow special director right pointing arrow appellate tribunal right pointing arrow high court compounding to regularize delays non-compliance. NRIOCI non-repatriation. Treated like domestic investors. No repatriation of proceeds. Combining and closing keycap FDI super quick revision. Concept. Key point. FDI law. FEMA plus non-debt rules. Approval body. DPIIT plus RBI. Routes. Automatic government route. General cap in most sectors. 100%. Defense. 74% auto. Private banks. 74%. Insurance. 74%. No FDI. Lottery, gambling, agri-land, real estate trading. E-commerce. Marketplace only. Reporting forms. FCGPR, FCTRS. 20 case-based questions on FDI regulations and policy. 1. Eligible investor. OCI versus NRI. An OCI cardholder, residing in Dubai, wants to invest in a private limited company in India engaged in manufacturing electrical vehicles. The investment will be on a repatriation basis. Question. Is the investor eligible? Under which rules can he invest? 2. Entity eligibility. Trust investment. A charitable trust engaged in skill development programs wants to raise foreign funds from a U.S. foundation as equity contribution. Question. Is this permitted under the FDI policy? 3. Sectoral cap. Defense. A foreign defense technology company wants to invest 76% in an Indian defense startup without seeking government approval. Question. Is this automatically allowed? 4. Prohibited sector. Gambling. A Singapore investor wants to invest in an online fantasy betting and gambling platform. Question. Whether FDI is permitted. Give reason. 5. Entry route. Pharmaceuticals. A foreign company proposes to invest 100% in a greenfield pharma project. Question. Which entry route applies? What if it was a brownfield pharma unit? 6. E-commerce versus inventory. A US-based e-commerce giant plans to buy 60% stake in an Indian company running inventory-based retail operations online. Question. Is this allowed under FDI policy? 7. Single brand retail SBRT. A French luxury brand wants to open stores in India with 100% foreign ownership and also sell via online marketplace first before opening offline stores. Question. Is this allowed? State any conditions. 8. Multi-brand retail MBRT. A Dubai retail chain seeks 51% FDI in an Indian supermarket chain. The store will operate in a TIER 3 town with 8 lakh population. Question. Can this investment be approved? 9. FDI in LLP. A foreign investor intends to invest in an LLP engaged in consultancy services. Question. Under what conditions can the LLP accept FDI? 10. Investment vehicle. AIF Category 2. A U.S. fund proposes investment in an alternate investment fund Category 2 registered with SEBI. Question. Is FDI permitted? State applicable conditions. 11. FEMA violation. Late reporting. An Indian company receives FDI from UK but fails to file FCGPR within the prescribed period. Question. What are the consequences? How can the violation be regularized? 12. Transfer of shares. Resident to non-resident. A listed Indian company's resident shareholder 10% stake wants to sell shares to a Japanese investor. Question. Which reporting forms apply? Any pricing guidelines? 13. Downstream investment. A wholly foreign-owned Indian subsidiary invests in another Indian company domestic firm and acquires 40% stake. Question. What compliance rules apply? 14. NRI. Non-repatriation. An NRI invests in an Indian real estate company on non-repatriation basis. Question. Will this be treated as domestic investment or foreign investment? 15. Issue of bonus rights shares. A foreign investor holding equity in an Indian company seeks bonus shares. Question. Is approval required? Under which conditions? 16. Defense industrial license pending. A U.S. defense corporation wants to invest 100% in an Indian drone tech startup but the Indian startup's industrial license is still pending. Question. Can FDI be allowed before license approval? 17. FDI versus FPI. A foreign investor acquires 8% stake in an Indian listed company. Question. Will this be treated as FDI or FPI? Which threshold applies? 18. FEMA compounding. A company received FDI in 2020 but remittance reporting to RBI was delayed by 8 months. Question. Is compounding applicable? Which authority handles it? 19. Telecom sector. A Korean telecom company wants to invest 100% in an Indian internet service provider. Question. Is this under automatic route? Mention security clearance requirement. 20. FDI in private security agency. A U.S. security services company wants 60% stake in an Indian private security agency. Question. Is FDI permitted? Under which conditions and approval route? Add-ons. Ready to deliver. MCQs. Descriptive theory. Flowcharts for rules. Memory tricks and revision notes. Sector-wise flashcards. Case laws and RBI circular references. Lesson 3. Overseas Direct Investment ODI. Regulatory Framework. Governed by FEMA 1999. Foreign Exchange Management Overseas Investment Rules, 2022. Foreign Exchange Management Overseas Investment Regulations, 2022. RBI Master Directions on ODI. Regulators. RBI. Central Government. AD Category. I-Banks Authorized Dealers. Introduction. ODI equals investment by a person resident in India in foreign business entity by equity capital contribution, subscription to MOA, acquisition of shares through stock exchange, investment in JV wholly owned subsidiary WOs, guarantee loan to foreign JV WOs. Purpose. Global presence, access to tech, markets, resources. Permission for overseas investment. 2 routes. Route. Who approves? Automatic route. No prior approval conditions satisfied. Approval route. Central government RBI approval required. Eligible investors residents. Indian Company, LLP, body corporate resident individuals subject to LRS limits. Registered Trust Society specific purposes allowed. Procedure for making overseas investment. 1. Board resolution for companies. 2. ODI form via AD Bank on firm's portal. 3. Declaration of bona fide purpose. 4. Ensure financial commitment limits not exceeded. Approval from the central government. Required in cases such as activities in strategic sectors defense, security, strategic tech. Entities flagged by relevant ministries. Neighboring country investment route prior government approval. Approval from the Reserve Bank. Required when investment exceeds limits. Structure involves financial services sector without prior track record. Write-off restructuring beyond prescribed limits. Mode of payment. Allowed through remittance of foreign currency, EEFC account funds. Swap of shares. Capitalization of exports dues external commercial borrowings is permitted. ADR GDR proceeds. Pricing guidelines. Must be fair value certified by CA Merchant Banker Investment Banker. Listed foreign securities right pointing arrow market price. Unlisted right pointing arrow internationally accepted valuation norms. Transfer or liquidation. Transfer of shares exit allowed subject to reporting to AD Bank. Fair valuation norms. Repatriation of sale proceeds to India within prescribed time. Restructuring. Write-off capital restructuring allowed if authorized by Indian Board. Reported to RBI. Meets prudential norms. Only permitted to extent of loss impairment. Jurisdiction. Courts and regulators in India govern ODI compliance. Foreign jurisdiction governs foreign entity operations. Opening of foreign currency account abroad permitted when investment has been made overseas. For normal business operations, must adhere to reporting and repatriation norms. Obligations of person resident in India. Must receive share certificates within 6 months. Submit annual performance report APR. Report disinvestment restructuring. Ensure bona fide business purpose. Comply with host country laws. Manner of making ODI by Indian entity. May invest by subscription to MOA. Purchase of shares. Bonus rights shares. Guarantees loans to foreign entity. Creation of charge on assets. Limit. Up to 400% of net worth financial commitment. Overseas investment by persons other than Indian entity. Resident individuals under LRS 250,000 United States dollars per financial year. Can invest in shares debt instruments of foreign entity. Can set up JV WOs subject to limits. Must not engage in financial services business abroad unless specific criteria met. Overseas investment in IFSC. Investment in IFSC permitted for Indian entities, resident individuals, benefits, tax incentives, easier compliance. Reporting, forms, event, form, ODI investment filing. Form FC Part 1, Annual Performance Report, APR, Disinvestment. Form FC Part 4, Post-reporting through firm's portal. Time, 30 days for most filings. Restriction on further financial commitment transfer. Not permitted if NPA status or willful default. Investigations pending. Non-compliance with previous ODI reporting. Restrictions and prohibitions. ODI not permitted in real estate business abroad unless development plus leasing. Banking business unless approved. Gambling, lottery, trading and transferable development rights. Financial services abroad without prior track record and approval. Restriction on acquisition of a movable property. Permitted only if for business use, as per foreign country law. Acquired through legitimate banking channels. Not located in prohibited or FATF listed jurisdictions. 20 case-based questions. Overseas direct investment ODI. Q1. ABC Limited India wants to set up a 100% subsidiary in UAE for trading. Net worth 50 crore rupees. Proposed investment 120 crore rupees. Can they invest under automatic route? Answer. No. ODI limit equals 400% of net worth. 400% times 50 crore rupees equals 200 crore rupees, so limit is okay. But investment exceeds net worth significantly. Right pointing arrow. AD Bank may ask justification. Allowed under automatic route if reporting plus documentation done. Q2. An Indian company wants to invest in a foreign casino business. Allowed. Answer. No. Gambling casino activities are prohibited. Q3. Mr. Ramesh resident individual wants to buy equity in a foreign fintech company under LRS. Allowed. Answer. Yes. Resident individuals can buy shares abroad under LRS up to 250,000 United States dollars a year. But cannot engage in financial services business unless conditions met. Q4. XYZ Limited wants to invest in a foreign bank without prior track record in banking in India. Permitted. Answer. No. Indian entity must have 3-year financial services track record to invest in foreign financial sector. Q5. ABC Limited invested in a US subsidiary. It has not filed APR for 2 years. Can it make further ODI? Answer. No. Pending reporting. Right pointing arrow. Further ODI prohibited. Q6. A company wants to fund its overseas JV using EFC account balance. Allowed. Answer. Yes. EEFC funds permitted for ODI. Q7. Can ODI be made by capitalization of export proceeds? Answer. Yes. ODI can be done by capitalizing export receivables. Q8. A resident individual remits 200,000 United States dollars to set up a company abroad. Can he borrow another 100,000 United States dollars from a friend and send it abroad for same purpose? Answer. No. Total ODI under LRS limit equals 250,000 United States dollars per FY. Q9. Indian LLP wants to acquire 55% in a foreign company by issue of share swap. Allowed. Answer. Yes. Share swap allowed, subject to valuation plus reporting. Q10. Indian county sells shares of its foreign subsidiary and keeps proceeds abroad for future use. Valid. Answer. No. Proceeds must be repatriated to India within prescribed time unless retention permitted. Q11. Indian county wants to acquire property in London for personal use of directors. ODI allowed. Answer. No. Property abroad must be for business purpose only. Q12. Defect. Company received no share certificate for 8 months after ODI. Violation. Answer. Yes. Share certificate must be received within 6 months. Q13. Company remits money abroad before filing Form FC ODI. Allowed. Answer. No. Form FC Part 1 must be filed before remittance. Q14. Indian entity invests 60% abroad but only pays 20% initially. Is approval needed for balance? Answer. No. Financial commitment registered, can remit balance later if within 400% limit. Q15. Indian county wants to open a foreign currency account abroad after making ODI. Allowed. Answer. Yes. Permitted for bona fide business purposes. Q16. Individual invests in foreign crypto exchange under LRS. ODI or portfolio. Answer. Portfolio investment under LRS. Crypto exchange is not recognized as ODI entity. Q17. Indian county wants to guarantee loan taken by foreign JV. Is this ODI? Answer. Yes. Giving corporate guarantee equals financial commitment. Q18. Indian subsidiary of a foreign company wants to invest abroad. Allowed. Answer. Yes. Status as resident Indian entity matters, not ownership. Q19. Indian county wants to invest in a company located in FATF non-compliant country. Allowed. Answer. No. Investment prohibited. Q20. Company wants to write off investment in foreign woes due to losses. Can they? Answer. Yes. Permitted subject to valuation plus reporting. Lesson 4. External commercial borrowings ECB. Foreign loans taken by Indian entities. Regulatory framework. Meaning. The legal system and rules governing foreign loans taken by Indian companies. Key points to remember. Governed by FEMA plus RBI ECB framework. RBI issues master directions on ECB. Automatic route versus approval route. Limits on amount, maturity, lenders, sectors. Must follow end-use restrictions, i.e. use only for permitted purposes. Reporting mandatory ECB forms. Simple example. TCS borrows 50 million United States dollars from JP Morgan foreign branch. Must follow RBI ECB rules. Introduction. Meaning. ECB equals loans taken by eligible Indian borrowers from foreign lenders. Key points. ECB equals borrowing in foreign currency. Helps Indian companies get cheaper global credit. Not meant for personal loans, small firms and less eligible. Examples of ECB. Foreign bank loan. Foreign bonds, masala bonds. Loan from foreign shareholder ECB framework. Meaning. Rules deciding who can borrow, from whom, how much, for what purpose. Key points. 3 tracks. 1. Foreign currency loans. 2. INR denominated ECB. 3. Rupee loans converted to ECB. End-use restrictions apply, no real estate trading, no stock market gambling, etc. All-in cost ceiling applies, max interest plus fees. Recognized lenders. Meaning. ECB can be taken only from approved foreign lenders. Key points. International banks. Multilateral institutions, World Bank, IFC. Foreign equity holders. Export credit agencies. Example. Loan from HSBC London. Loan from foreign friend Crossmark. Minimum average maturity period MAMP. Meaning. Minimum time the loan must stay before repayment. Key points. Standard MAMP equals 3 years. If ECB used for capital expenditure equals 5 years. If lender equals foreign shareholder is greater than or equal to 25% holding right pointing arrow 5 years. Longer maturity equals lower risk of sudden outflow. Parking of ECB proceeds. Meaning. Where the loan money can be held until used in India. Key points. Can be kept in foreign currency account abroad. Can be kept in rupee account in India. Must use for permitted purposes only. Procedure of raising ECB. Meaning. Steps to take foreign loan. Key steps. Check eligibility. Loan agreement with lender. File form ECB with AD Bank. Receive funds through banking channels. Follow end-use rules. Reporting requirements. Meaning. Mandatory filings with RBI. Key points. Form ECB at the time of drawdown. ECB2 return monthly. Delay in filing right pointing arrow penalty. Conversion of ECB into equity. Meaning. Loan can be converted to shares of the Indian company. Key points. Allowed with lender consent. Pricing rules must be followed. File reporting forms with RBI. Example. Foreign lender converts 10 million United States dollars debt to equity in an Indian startup. ECB facility for startups. Meaning. Relaxed rules for startups to borrow abroad. Key points. Max 3 million United States dollars per financial year. Maturity 3 years. Recognized lenders like. Right pointing arrow foreign VC fund, PE fund, angel investor. Must be DPIIT recognized startup. Borrowing by entities under investigation. Meaning. Companies under regulatory investigation face restrictions. Key points. Entities under investigation at SEBI, CBI, etc. cannot raise ECB without approval. To prevent money laundering, capital flight. 20 case-based questions. ECB. Q1. Indian company borrows 30 million United States dollars from HSBC Singapore. Allowed. ANS. Yes. Recognized lender. Q2. Indian individual wants to take ECB for business abroad. Allowed. ANS. No, ECB only for eligible entities, not individuals. Q3. Indian Private Limited borrows from its director's cousin in Dubai. Valid ECB. ANS. No, cousin not a recognized lender. Q4. Company uses ECB to buy land for real estate trading. Allowed. ANS. Crossmark not allowed. Real estate trading prohibited. Q5. MAMP must be minimum 3 years. Company repays in 2 years. Violation. ANS. Yes, violation unless RBI approval taken. Q6. Startup raises $2 million United States dollars from US VC fund. Valid. ANS. Yes, within $3 million United States dollars limit. Q7. Company uses ECB to buy shares of another company. Allowed. ANS. Crossmark not allowed. ECB cannot be used for equity investment. Q8. ECB funded machinery purchase. MAMP. ANS. 5 years capital expenditure. Q9. ECB proceeds kept in NRE account by Indian company CFO. Allowed. ANS. Crossmark no. Must be kept in business account. Q10. Company delays filing ECB2 returns. Consequence. ANS. Penalty compounding required. Q11. ECB at 15% interest plus 4% fees. Allowed. ANS. Crossmark violates all-in cost ceiling. ECB capped approximately around 450 bits per second over benchmark. Q12. ECB proceeds converted into equity shares of borrower. Allowed. ANS. Allowed, subject to pricing and reporting. Q13. Company under ED investigation seeks ECB. Allowed. ANS. Crossmark must seek prior approval. Q14. ECB used for working capital. Allowed. ANS. Yes, with minimum MAMP 5 years. Q15. Masala bonds are. ANS. INR denominated ECB instruments. Q16. ECB from Indian Bank overseas branch. Allowed. ANS. Yes, if branch is overseas. Q17. Startup not registered with DPIIT takes ECB. Valid. ANS. Crossmark startup ODI route only for DPIIT registered. Q18. Company converts INR loan from foreign parent to ECB. Allowed. ANS. Allowed subject to rules. Q19. ECB used to repay domestic rupee loan. Allowed. ANS. Allowed only if MAMP is greater than or equal to 10 years. Q20. Company borrows from foreign crypto fund. Allowed. ANS. Crossmark not recognized lender. Lesson 5. Foreign Trade Policy FTP and Procedure. Introduction. Meaning. FTP is Government of India's policy that decides how exports and imports happen, incentives, permissions, restrictions, and procedures to promote trade. Key points. Administered by DGFT Directorate General of Foreign Trade. Objective. Promote exports plus ease of doing business. Policy is supported by IT systems, customs rules, RBI systems. Example. A textile company exporting garments follows FTP for benefits and procedures. Case Q. A trader imports restricted chemical without DGFT approval. What happens? Answer. Violates FTP. DGFT can impose penalty and place entity on DEL list. Key highlights of FTP 2023. Meaning. Recent reforms to make export system simpler and digital. Key points. Online approvals, paperless trade. Focus on district level exports. Support for e-commerce exports. No end date. Dynamic policy updated as needed. Process re-engineering and automation. Meaning. Digitizing trade procedures. Key points. Online approvals via DGFT portal. Electronic certificates, licenses, reduced processing time. Case Q. Export house wants physical RCMC certificate. Allowed. ANS. No, RCMC issued digitally. Towns of export excellence T. Meaning. Cities identified for major export specialization. Key points. Sectors. Handicrafts, textiles, agriculture, engineering. Get priority support, marketing, testing labs, EPCG benefits. Example. Surat right pointing arrow diamonds. Tirupur right pointing arrow knitwear. Recognition of exporters. Meaning. Exporters get status holder certificates based on export volume. Categories. 1-star right pointing arrow 3 CR export. 2-star right pointing arrow 25 CR. 3-star right pointing arrow 100 CR. 4-star right pointing arrow 500 CR. 5-star right pointing arrow 2000 CR benefits. Faster clearance, low bank guarantee, priority government support. Case Q. Exporter earned 120 crore rupees in last 3 years. Which status? ANS. 3-star export house. Districts as export hubs. Meaning. Each district identifies its export products and receives support. Example. Kashmir right pointing arrow saffron. Moradabad right pointing arrow brass handicraft. Case Q. Can a district have multiple focus products? ANS. Yes. SCOMET policy. Meaning. Regulation of export of dual-use items civil plus defense use. Examples. Chemicals, drones, night vision devices. Case Q. Private firm wants to export drone to Africa. ANS. Needs SCOMET clearance. E-commerce export support. Simplified courier and postal clearance support for warehousing abroad. Cross-border payment flexibility. Case Q. Startup sending handicrafts via Amazon Global. Eligible for FTP support. ANS. Yes. EPCG scheme. Meaning. Duty-free import of capital goods if exporter meets export obligation. Example. Garment factory imports machine duty-free right pointing arrow must export value 6x duty saved. Advance authorization. Meaning. Import raw materials duty-free if used for planned export goods. Example. Jewelry exporter imports gold duty-free to manufacture jewelry for export. Legal basis and duration. Based on Foreign Trade Development and Regulation Act, 1992. FTP 2023 has no fixed end date dynamic. DGFT. Role. Grants IEC, licenses, incentives. Trade facilitation. Online grievance redressal. Case Q. Companies IEC suspended for export fraud. Can it import goods? ANS. No, IEC suspension stops trade. IEC importer-exporter code. Meaning. Business PAN becomes IEC, used for export-import. Key points. Mandatory for exports-imports. Online, paperless, lifetime validity. Mandatory documents, invoice, packing list, shipping bill, bill of lading airway bill. IEC, actual user condition, meaning, importer must use imported goods themselves, cannot resell unless allowed. Denied entity list DEL, meaning, list of exporters importers banned due to violations. Case Q, a firm on DEL tries to apply for EPCG license. ANS, rejected by DGFT. Country-specific trade rules, certain exports imports banned from some countries Iran, Iraq etc. Security-sensitive items controlled, import policy, free, restricted needs license, prohibited. Case Q, import of used laptops allowed. ANS, yes, under restricted license. Bonded warehousing, meaning, store imported goods without paying duty until use export. Exports, special provisions, export of samples and gifts allowed limits apply. Re-export of defective imported goods allowed. Export baggage rules apply. RCMC EPC registration, meaning, membership with Export Promotion Council to get export benefits. Quality Complaints System Online Complaint Resolution Portal. DGFT and EPC handle disputes. Deemed exports, meaning, supplies inside India treated as exports e.g. supply to SEZ, power projects. E-commerce hubs, dedicated e-commerce export zones. Simplified customs, SCOMET again. Controlled list, special permission needed. Case, AI chip export, ANS, needs SCOMET license. Combining and closing keycap quick memory sheet. Dot, scheme, benefit, condition, EPCG, duty-free machinery, export obligation, advance authorization, duty-free raw materials, must export final goods, status holder, export recognition, based on export turnover, T, special support to towns, export cluster recognition, SCOMET, export control, for sensitive dual-use items, IEC, trade license, PAN-based, practice case questions 10, dot, case, question. Answer, 1. Firm without IEC exports via courier. Allowed, no IEC mandatory. 2. Startup sells crafts via Etsy. Eligible for FTP. Yes. 3. Exporter on DEL applies approved. No. 4. Drone export without SCOMET license. Legal. No. 5. Export house buys machine duty-free and fails export. Penalty. Yes. 6. District wants to export mangoes. Scheme. District export hub. 7. Firm wants physical RCMC. Allowed. No. Digital. 8. Importing scrap. Allowed. Yes with rules. 9. Exporting perishable foods. Priority clearance. Yes. 10. Trader claiming advance authorization without manufacturing. Valid. No. Only manufacturers. Lesson 6. Law relating to Special Economic Zones says. Regulatory framework. Governed by Checkmark Special Economic Zones Act, 2005. Checkmark says rules, 2006. Checkmark related notifications, circulars by Ministry of Commerce. Objective. Promote exports, boost investment, create jobs, support economic activity. Introduction. Says equals specially demarcated duty-free zones for export-oriented production. Provide globally competitive business environment. Operate as foreign territory for trade and tariff purposes. Benefits. Duty exemptions. Simplified procedures. Income tax and GST benefits subject to periodic revisions. Infrastructure support. Purpose. To attract FDI, promote exports, generate employment, improve competitiveness. Establishment of SEZ. Central government notifies SEZ after. Checkmark proposal by state government developer. Checkmark minimum area requirements. Checkmark approval by Board of Approval. Types. Multi-product, sector-specific, multi-services, FTWZ minimum area norms illustrative. Multi-product SEZ. 1,000 hectares. Sector-specific. 100 hectares. ITES says. No minimum land, built-up area norms apply. Processing and non-processing areas. Dot. Processing area. Non-processing area. Production units. Housing, schools, hospitals. R&D, warehousing. Recreation, staff amenities. Export-linked infra. Social and business infra. Board of Approval. Apex body to approve SEZ proposals. Chaired by Secretary, Department of Commerce. Functions. Checkmark approve modify reject SEZ applications. Checkmark monitor SEZ development. Checkmark policy decisions and clarifications. Development Commissioner. Appointed by Central Government. Head of SEZ Administration. Key duties. Checkmark approve unit setup. Checkmark monitor export obligations. Checkmark liaison with Customs, DGFT, authorities Checkmark support operational issues. Approval Committee. Headed by Development Commissioner. Members include Customs, DGFT, state officials. Powers. Checkmark approve SEZ units and operations. Checkmark monitor compliance. Checkmark recommend withdrawal of benefits if non-compliant. Setting up units and SEZ. Application in prescribed form to DC. Requirements. Checkmark positive net foreign exchange NFE. Checkmark bond cum legal undertaking. Checkmark compliance with sector norms. Units cannot engage in prohibited activities. Offshore banking unit in SEZ. Banks allowed to operate foreign currency denominated business. Governed by RBI guidelines. Purpose. Serve global clients and SEZ units. International Financial Services Center IFSC. Financial hub within SEZ E.G. Gift City Gujarat. Enables. Checkmark offshore banking. Checkmark insurance, reinsurance. Checkmark capital markets. Checkmark fund management. Investigation and search powers. DC and Customs have power to investigate violation. Can search, inspect, seize goods and records. Designated courts. Special courts notified to handle SEZ-related offenses. Speedy disposal of disputes. Appeal to High Court. Appeal within 60 days against decisions of designated authorities. Offenses by companies. Company plus responsible officers liable unless they prove due diligence. SEZ authority. Established for each central government SEZ. Functions. Checkmark manage SEZ infrastructure. Checkmark maintain accounts and security. Checkmark provide utilities and amenities power of state government. Can grant certain tax exemptions within SEZ. Provide infrastructure support. Overriding effect. SEZ Act prevails over other inconsistent laws. SEZ Rules, 2006. Operational framework for SEZ functioning. Cover. Checkmark procedure for establishment. Checkmark unit approval and monitoring. Checkmark NFE computation. Checkmark clearances and compliance. Right to appear before the board. Appellant may appear personally or through. Checkmark lawyer. Checkmark chartered accountant. Checkmark authorized representative. Important points for quick revision. Topic. Key points. Nature of SEZ. Foreign territory for trade and customs. Approvals. BOA right pointing arrow DC right pointing arrow approval committee. Compliance. Positive NFE, periodical reporting. Benefits. Duty-free imports, simplified procedures. Legal. SEZ Act overrides other laws. Appeals. High court jurisdiction. Case scenarios brief answers included. 1. Company wants to set up in SEZ for apparel manufacturing. Minimum land requirement. Right pointing arrow 100 hectares sector specific. 2. Unit unable to achieve NFE due to global market crash. Penalty. Right pointing arrow DC may cancel approval and withdraw benefits after hearing. 3. Company sets up housing in processing area. Valid. Right pointing arrow cross mark not allowed housing only in non-processing area. 4. Bank wants to open foreign currency desk in SEZ. Allowed. Right pointing arrow is offshore banking unit RBI norms apply. 5. SEZ developer asks state government for electricity duty exemption. Allowed. Right pointing arrow state can grant exemptions. 6. Unit importing machinery duty free but using partially in DTA. Result. Right pointing arrow customs duty payable for any diversion. 7. Developer appeals against BOA decision. Where? Right pointing arrow high court within 60 days. 8. Unit exits SEZ without fulfilling export obligation. Consequence. Right pointing arrow duty plus interest plus penalties. 9. It says without minimum land. Valid. Right pointing arrow if built up area criteria met. 10. Unauthorized trading activity instead of permitted manufacturing. Penalty. Right pointing arrow suspension cancellation plus duty recovery. 11. State law contradicts SEZ Act. Which applies. Right pointing arrow SEZ Act overriding effect. 12. Foreign insurance company wants office in IFSC. Allowed. Right pointing arrow IFSC regulated by IFSCA. 13. Unit claims benefits but not operational for 2+ years. Action. Right pointing arrow cancel approval and recover benefits. 14. Developer seeks to convert land after approval. Right pointing arrow needs BOA approval. 15. Internal dispute between SEZ unit and customs. Forum. Right pointing arrow says dispute resolution right pointing arrow designated court. 16. Employee residence inside processing zone. Valid. Right pointing arrow cross mark not permitted. 17. Non-export services provided in processing zone. Right pointing arrow not allowed unless approved. 18. Loss making SEZ unit with positive NFE. Benefits withdrawn. Right pointing arrow allowed to continue profit not mandatory. 19. Supplying to another SEZ unit counts toward NFE. Right pointing arrow deemed exports. 20. Company setting up server hub in IFSC. Activity permitted. Right pointing arrow tech financial service infrastructure allowed. Lesson 7. Law relating to Foreign Contribution Regulation FCRA. Regulatory framework. Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, 2010 FCRA, 2010. Foreign Contribution Regulation Rules, 2011. Amendments. 2020 Amendment Act important for CS exams. Administered by Ministry of Home Affairs MHA. Objective. Checkmark ensure foreign funds do not affect sovereignty, security, public interest or elections. Checkmark regulate NGO foreign funding. Introduction. FCRA regulates acceptance and utilization of foreign contributions in hospitality. Protects national interest and political stability. Applies to individuals, associations, companies receiving foreign funds. Foreign contribution includes checkmark donations, checkmark currency Indian or foreign when received from foreign source, checkmark articles and securities. Regulation of foreign contribution in hospitality. Foreign contribution equals funds from foreign source. Foreign hospitality equals free subsidized travel, accommodation, medical care abroad. Purpose. Prevent undue foreign influence on public servants, political system voluntary sector functioning. Prior government approval required in many scenarios. Who can receive foreign contribution? Charitable trust societies NGOs, educational cultural religious organizations, individuals with prior permission, Section 8 companies registered under Companies Act. Condition. Must register with MHA or obtain prior permission. Crossmark who cannot receive foreign contribution. Under Sec. 3. Prohibited persons include candidates for election, judges, government servants, employees of government-controlled bodies, members of legislature, political parties and their office bearers, associations of political nature unless exempted, journalists or media orgs of specified nature, persons to whom Section 3 shall not apply. Exemptions may apply to diplomatic personnel, UN, World Bank, IMF and international bodies. Persons notified by central government. Organization of political nature Sec 5 government may declare an organization as political based on objectives, activities e.g. protests, rallies, public policy influence. Source of funding, right to be heard mandatory before declaring. Regulation of foreign hospitality, prior approval required for public servants order holders. Exemption, emergency medical treatment but reporting required. Transfer of foreign contribution, complete ban on transferring FC to another NGO unless both registered and permitted 2020 amendment tightened rules. Promotes greater accountability, utilization for administrative expenses. Max 20% of FC funds can be used for admin expenses post 2020 amendment. Includes salaries, office expenses, admin overheads, government power to prohibit receipt. If necessary in public interest, national security, or sovereignty, government can stop receipt of FC. Freeze bank accounts demand explanation. Registration. Types. 1. FCRA registration. For organizations with track record min 3 years. 2. Prior permission. Project-specific permission. Eligibility criteria. Registration. Min 3 years existence. Proven track record in activities. Expenditure of 15 lakh rupees plus in last 3 years on core activities. No convictions or pending prosecutions. Eligibility. Prior permission. Required when. New organizations less than 3 years. Individuals needing FC for specific project. Needs. Foreign donor letter and project details. Conditions for registration permission. Organization must operate single FCRA bank account SBI New Delhi main branch for receipt. Maintain separate books and reporting. File annual FC for return. Aadhaar requirement. Government can require Aadhaar for key personnel involved in receiving utilizing FC. Suspension cancellation. Suspension 180 days. If violation suspected. Cancellation. If false info given. Violation of law. Not functioning for 2 years. Public interest grounds. Surrender of certificate. Organization may voluntarily surrender. Government may examine utilization. Transfer unutilized amount to government approved authority. Management of FC post cancellation. Government may appoint officer to manage FC assets and funds. Renewal. FCRA certificate valid 5 years. Renewal mandatory before expiry. Renewal denial if non-compliance found. Foreign contribution through scheduled bank. Must use designated SBI NDMB account. No cash deposits of foreign contributions. Record and audit mandatory. Offenses and penalties. Offense. Penalty. Accepting FC without registration. Up to 5 years imprisonment. Non-reporting. Penal action. Transfer of FC in violation. Penalty plus cancellation. Administrative cap violation. Penalty. Political use of funds. Severe punishment. Compounding available for minor offenses. Offenses by companies. Company plus responsible officers liable unless due diligence shown. Classical building. Important case laws for FCRA. Case. Principle. Indian Social Action Forum Insaf v. Union of India, 2020 SC. Organizations involved in pure political activities cannot receive FC. Activism versus political activity clarified. Indian National Congress and BJP FCRA case Delhi HC, 2014. Receiving donations from foreign companies violates FCRA later law amended. Lawyers Collective versus Union of India Delhi HC, 2016. NGO registration suspended for FC misuse. Compliance must be strict. Narendra Mohan Foundation case. Misuse of FC results in cancellation. Classical building 20 case-based questions for practice scenario-based MCQs case questions. 1. GoA gets foreign donation without registration. Result. Combining and closing keycap illegal, punishable plus confiscation plus penalty. 2. Journalist receiving foreign gift for article work. Combining and closing keycap prohibited under Sec 3. 3. NGO spends 30% FC on salaries. Violation. Combining and closing keycap yes, greater than 20% admin cap post 2020. 4. MP receiving FC for educational event. Combining and closing keycap prohibited person. 5. Emergency medical foreign aid to IAS officer's spouse. No prior approval. Combining and closing keycap allowed but must inform government within 1 month. 6. NGO transfers FC to partner NGO without permission. Combining and closing keycap complete prohibition. Violation. 7. Trust registered only 2 years seeks FC. Combining and closing keycap must apply under prior permission route. 8. NGO doing protests against government policies. Declared political nature. Combining and closing keycap permitted under INSAF ruling if advocacy based. Depends on activities. 9. FC received into savings account instead of SBI NDMB. Combining and closing keycap violation. Funds frozen. 10. NGO dormant for 2 years renewal. Combining and closing keycap can be denied. 11. NGO cancels voluntarily. Can government inspect? Combining and closing keycap yes, government manages unspent funds. 12. Public servant directly receives air ticket funded by foreign org. Combining and closing keycap needs prior government approval. 13. Foreign entity donates to Indian political party. Combining and closing keycap prohibited subject to amended definition of foreign source. 14. NGO fails to file annual FC for return for a year. Combining and closing keycap registration may be suspended. 15. Person advocates policy change and receives FC. Regulated. Combining and closing keycap if political influence. FCRA bars. 16. Doctor receiving FC for medical research. Combining and closing keycap allowed with prior permission. 17. FC routed through multiple bank accounts. Combining and closing keycap violation. Single designated account is mandatory. 18. NGO misallocated FC for religious conversion. Combining and closing keycap cancellation plus prosecution. 19. CEO refuses to provide Aadhaar. Combining and closing keycap government can demand alternate identification. 20. NGO merges with another NGO. Transfer of FC allowed. Combining and closing keycap only if both have FCRA approval and government permits. Lesson 8. Prevention of money laundering. Regulatory framework. The Prevention of Money Laundering Act, 2002 PMLA provides a comprehensive legal mechanism to combat money laundering in India. It establishes procedures for attachment, adjudication, and confiscation of proceeds of crime and prescribes obligations for financial institutions for customer verification, record keeping, and suspicious transaction reporting. Introduction. Money laundering is the process of making illicit money appear legitimate. It undermines financial systems, fuels criminal enterprise, and threatens national security. PMLA aims to identify, trace, and confiscate proceeds of crime while punishing offenders. Process of money laundering. 1. Placement. Illicit money enters the financial system, e.g. deposits in banks. 2. Layering. Multiple financial transactions conceal its origin, e.g. routing via shell companies. 3. Integration. Funds re-enter the economy as legitimate capital, e.g. real estate, business investments. Impact on development. Weakens financial institutions. Distorts economic stability. Encourages corruption and criminal activity. reduces state revenue, erodes investor confidence. Global initiatives. FATF global intergovernmental body issuing AML anti-money laundering standards. India is a member since 2010. EU directives. Multiple directives requiring AML systems, KYC, and beneficial ownership transparency. Basel Committee. Guidelines for banks to manage AML risk. Egmont Group. International network of FIUs including FIU IND. Asia Pacific Group and EG. Regional AML bodies for cooperation and compliance. Indian initiatives. PMLA, 2002. RBI KYC directions. FIU IND. Enforcement Directorate Ed. SEBI AML guidelines. RBI IRDAI NHB AML requirements. Key provisions under PMLA. Money laundering section 3. Anyone involved in concealment, possession, acquisition, use, projection as untainted property is guilty of the offense. Punishment. 3. 7 years imprisonment up to 10 years in drug-related cases. Attachment of property. ED can provisionally attach property involved in money laundering for 180 days. Adjudicating authority. Decides whether attached property should remain attached. Appellate tribunal and special courts. For appeals and trial of offenses. Presumption in interconnected transactions. If one transaction is tainted, all linked transactions are presumed tainted unless proven otherwise. Obligations of banks, FIS and intermediaries. KYC compliance. Maintain records for 5 years. Report. Suspicious transactions STRs. Cash transactions CTRs. Counterfeit currency reports. Cross-border wire transfers. Authorities. Authority. Role. Enforcement Directorate ED. Investigation, attachment, arrest. FIU IND. Receives and analyses financial intelligence. RBI, SEBI, IRDAI. AML supervision. Adjudicating authority. Confirms provisional attachment. Special court. Trial. Freezing under UAPA Section 51A. Allows freezing of terrorist assets and persons entities designated under UNSC resolutions. Important case laws. Case. Principle. Vijay Madanlal Chowdhury vs. Union of India 2022. ED's powers constitutional. PMLA is a special law. P. Chidambaram vs. ED 2019. Bail under PMLA requires strict scrutiny. Hassan Ali Khan case. Large-scale laundering. Reinforces need for strict action. J. Sakar vs. ED 2018. Mere cash possession isn't laundering unless linked to crime. 20 case-based questions with answers. Graded and designed like exam questions. Legal reasoning plus short analytical answer. 1. A deposits 50 lakh rupees unaccounted cash into a shell company and later invests in real estate. Which stage? Answer. Placement right pointing arrow layering right pointing arrow integration classic laundering process. 2. Bank officers fail to report suspicious transactions. Liability. Answer. Institution and officers liable under PMLA for failure to report STRs. 3. X acquires property from Y knowing it is proceeds of drug trafficking. Is X guilty? Answer. Yes. Section 3. Knowing possession and integration. 4. Can ED arrest without FIR? Answer. Yes. PMLA is a special law. ED can arrest based on ECIR. 5. Property purchased before offense. Can ED attach? Answer. No, unless connected to proceeds of crime. PMLA targets proceeds of crime. 6. Company launders money. Who is liable? Answer. Company plus responsible directors officers offenses by companies. 7. An NGO receives funds from abroad and misuses. Applicable. Answer. Yes. PMLA plus FCRA. 8. Bank fails KYC. What happens? Answer. Regulatory penalties plus AML violation. 9. Can accused under PMLA get anticipatory bail? Answer. Possible, but courts apply strict twin test principles. 10. Is mere possession of cash an offense? Answer. No. Must prove link with proceeds of crime. 11. Foreign national involved in laundering in India. Jurisdiction. Answer. Yes. PMLA applies to offenses in India. 12. Offense part in Dubai, part in India. Answer. Yes. Cross-border jurisdiction under PMLA. 13. Can ED attach Benami property? Answer. Yes. If proceeds of crime. Also Benami Act applies. 14. Bank files incorrect reports accidentally. Answer. Bank liable for compliance failure. 15. Money routed through crypto exchange. PMLA applies. Answer. Yes. RBI guidelines plus FIU IND crypto KYC. 16. Relative receives funds unaware they are illegal. Guilty. Answer. No. Mens rea required knowledge. 17. Accused challenges PMLA saying ED file not shared. Answer. SC held ED need not share ECIR. Vijay Madanlal Chowdhury. 18. ED attaches a rented house used by accused. Valid. Answer. Yes. Property used in commission of offense can be attached. 19. Bank employee assists laundering. Punishment. Answer. PMLA offense plus disciplinary plus criminal conspiracy. 20. Is PMLA bailable? Answer. Non-bailable. Strict bail conditions apply. Lesson 9. Law relating to Fugitive Economic Offenders ACT, 2018. Introduction. The Fugitive Economic Offenders Act, 2018 FEOA was enacted to deter high-value economic offenders from evading prosecution by remaining outside India. It empowers authorities to seize properties of such offenders and bar them from defending civil claims unless they return to India. This law was introduced after cases like Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi, Vijay Mallya, where offenders fled abroad leaving behind huge unpaid debts and financial crimes. Salient features of the Act. Applies to offenses involving 100 crore rupees or more. Allows confiscation of properties of fugitives, including Benami and overseas properties. Non-bailable offense category. Special court under PMLA to declare a person as fugitive economic offender FEO. Bars fugitive offender from filing or defending civil claims. Proceedings are directed at properties, not at securing conviction. Enables government to attach and confiscate assets expeditiously. Fugitive economic offender. Definition. A fugitive economic offender FEO is a person who 1. Has a warrant of arrest issued against him for scheduled economic offense S. 2. Leaves India to avoid criminal prosecution, or refuses to return, and 3. Offense value is 100 crore rupees or more. Scheduled offenses include money laundering PMLA, bank frauds, cheating, forgery, customs and tax evasion, Corruption Act offenses, Companies Act frauds, procedure for declaration of fugitive economic offender. 1. Application by Director Ed to Special Court. 2. Application must include reasons to believe the person is a fugitive, details of offense charge sheet complaint, proof of individual leaving India refusing to return, list of properties India and abroad. 3. Notice issued to the individual to appear 6 weeks time. 4. Notice served through email, postal service, or affixation publication. 5. Offender may file a reply or contest. 6. Court hears evidence, witnesses, documents. 7. Court may declare FEO if the person fails to appear. Declaration of fugitive economic offender. After declaration, all listed properties including Benami and overseas can be confiscated. Properties can vest in the central government. Settlement or compounding not allowed unless person returns. Court may appoint administrator to manage auction property. Power to disallow civil claims once declared FEO. The person cannot defend or file any civil claim in Indian courts. Aimed at preventing fugitives from using judicial remedies without submitting to Indian jurisdiction. Attachment of property. Attachment process includes 1. Provisional attachment by director up to 180 days. 2. Application to special court for confirmation. 3. Includes movable and immovable properties, Benami properties, assets abroad via treaties. Court may allow management of attached property until confiscation. Power of survey. Authorities can enter any place within working hours, inspect records, accounts, property, verify transactions, collect evidence related to proceeds of crime. Used at preliminary stage before search and seizure. Search and seizure. Authorities can search and seize if there's reason to believe evidence property exists. They may enter and search premises, break open locks, seize books, records, valuables, freeze accounts, seize digital devices. Search warrant preferred but emergency powers exist. Search of persons. If officer believes a person is hiding documents property, he may search the person, remove and inspect belongings. If female, search must be conducted by female officer only. Appeal. Appeal lies to the High Court against orders of special court within 30 days extendable if sufficient cause. No appeal lies after confiscation is completed except on legal grounds. Bar of jurisdiction. No civil court can interfere in FEO proceedings. Special court and appellate court have exclusive jurisdiction. Important case references. Case. Key point. Vijay Mallya case. First high-profile attempt to declare FEO, assets abroad targeted. Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi case. Basis for FEOA urgency, confiscation actions. Ed vs Sandasara Brothers Sterling Biotech. FEO initiated as they fled before charges. 20 case-based questions with answers. 1. X leaves India after bank fraud of 500 crore rupees. Arrest warrant exists. Will FEO Act apply? Answer. Yes. Offense greater than 100 crore rupees plus fled plus warrant. 2. A fled but crime value 50 crore rupees. Can he be FEO? Answer. No. Minimum threshold 100 crore rupees not met. 3. X lives abroad but no arrest warrant issued. FEO. Answer. No. Warrant is mandatory. 4. X refuses to appear despite notice. Result. Answer. Court may declare him FEO. 5. Once declared FEO, can X file a civil suit? Answer. No. Barred from civil claims. 6. Can overseas property be seized? Answer. Yes. Via treaties and reciprocal agreements. 7. X argues property belongs to spouse. Ed attaches it. Valid. Answer. Yes. If Benami suspected crime proceeds. 8. X returns voluntarily before declaration. Relief. Answer. Act not applicable if he submits to jurisdiction. 9. Bank requests court not to confiscate to repay loans. Allowed. Answer. Court may consider stakeholder claims before disposal. 10. Can FEO settlement be done without returning to India? Answer. No. Must appear in court. 11. Female suspect. Can male officer search her home? Answer. Yes, but person search must be by female officer. 12. Government auctions a seized villa. Legit. Answer. Yes. After confiscation and legal process. 13. X challenges law saying violates right to property. Valid. Answer. No. Confiscation justified for economic offense. 14. X argues he left before charges filed. Still FEO. Answer. Yes. If charge sheet plus warrant issued later. 15. Offender claims he left for medical treatment. Defense. Answer. Court decides. Burden on offender to prove bona fide reasons. 16. FEO declared but property in joint name with spouse. Answer. Court investigates spouse contribution. Fraudulent portion confiscated. 17. X files civil arbitration abroad. Can India stop him? Answer. He is barred from civil claims in India, not internationally. 18. Property transferred after notice. Valid. Answer. Invalid. Transfer void once attachment initiated. 19. Appeal filed to Supreme Court directly. Maintainable. Answer. No. Appeal lies to High Court first. 20. Individual stays abroad but keeps attending hearings online. FEO. Answer. No. Not absconding. Not evading prosecution. Lesson 10. Law relating to Benami transactions and prohibition ACT, 1988 is amended. Regulatory framework. The Benami Transactions Prohibition Act, 1988, amended in 2016, aims to prohibit Benami property transactions and recover such properties by the government. The Act empowers authorities to confiscate Benami properties and prosecute offenders. It works alongside Prevention of Money Laundering Act PMLA, Income Tax Act, Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. Introduction. A Benami transaction is one where property is bought in someone else's name, but real beneficial owner is another person who has paid the consideration. Earlier, the Act had limited enforceability. The 2016 amendment made it a powerful enforcement law with Clear definitions. Attachment and confiscation powers. Penalties and prosecution. Special courts and appellate tribunal. Salient features. Prohibits Benami transactions. Seizure and confiscation of Benami property. Criminal penalties, imprisonment plus fines. Special courts for speedy trials. Appellate tribunal for appeals. Retrospective effect for certain procedural rights. Important definitions. Term. Meaning. Benami property. Any property where real owner is not the name holder. Benamidar. Person in whose name property is held, but is not the real owner. Beneficial owner. Person who actually paid for property and benefits from it. Property. Includes assets of any kind. Movable, immovable, tangible, intangible, even cryptocurrency. Fictitious name. False identity used to hide ownership. Consideration. Actual payment source for property. Combining and closing keycap exclusion example. Property in the name of spouse children where money source is explained. Prohibition of Benami transactions. All Benami transactions are prohibited. No one is allowed to enter or assist a Benami transaction. Includes 1. Property under fictitious name. 2. Property owner not aware. 3. Owner denies knowledge. 4. Real payer is untraceable. Prohibition of right to recover property. The real owner cannot claim Benami property back from Benamidar. Even filing a lawsuit to recover is barred. Prohibition on retransfer. Benamidar cannot transfer property back to beneficial owner after notice order. Such transfer is void. Authorities and jurisdiction. Authority. Role. Initiating officer IO. Issues notice. Provisional attachment. Approving authority. Confirms actions of IO. Adjudicating authority. Decides whether property is Benami. Administrator. Manages confiscated properties. Special court. Criminal prosecution. Notice and attachment of property. Steps. 1. EO issues notice if property suspected Benami. 2. EO may provisionally attach property 90 days max. 3. Matter sent to adjudicating authority. 4. Opportunity of hearing given to Benamidar. Beneficial owner. Any interested person. Manner of service of notice. Notice is served via registered post, speed post, email, hand service, newspaper publication if required. Failure to respond equals presumption against person. Adjudication. Adjudicating authority. Reviews evidence. Conducts hearings. Can confirm attachment. May decide property is Benami. Confiscation and vesting. If confirmed Benami, property is confiscated by central government. Free from all encumbrances. No compensation paid. All rights extinguished. Management of confiscated properties. An administrator is appointed to take possession, maintain or sell property. Deposit proceeds to government. Possession of property. After confiscation order. Physical possession taken. Police assistance may be used if resisted. Appellate tribunal. Appeal against adjudicating authority's order must be filed within 45 days. Appeal to High Court. Appeal from appellate tribunal lies to High Court within 60 days. Legal grounds only. Special courts. Set up to try Benami offenses to ensure speedy trial. Offenses and prosecution. Punishments. Imprisonment. 1 to 7 years. Fine. Up to 25% of property's fair market value. Knowingly providing false info also punishable. Offenses by companies. If company is involved. Company responsible. Directors and officers liable if consent knowledge proved. Protection if offense committed without knowledge and due diligence exercised. 20 case-based questions with answers. 1. A buys property in B's name, but A pays money. Benami. Yes. Beneficial ownership mismatch. 2. Husband buys house in wife's name with explained income. Benami. No. Permitted if source known. 3. X buys land in name of driver without proof of income. Benami. Yes. Classic Benami arrangement. 4. Property gifted to brother, no consideration. Benami. No. Gift is not Benami if genuine and documented. 5. Company director hides company funds in friend's property. Benami. Yes. Liable plus criminal offense. 6. Benamidar tries to sell property after notice. Valid. No. Transfer void. 7. EO issues notice but no hearing given. Valid. No. Violates natural justice. 8. Property purchased in minor child's name with explained source. Benami. No. Permitted. 9. X holds crypto under fake name. Covered. Yes. Property includes intangible assets. 10. Provisional attachment extended beyond 90 days without authority approval. Valid. No. Illegal. 11. X refuses to accept notice. Service valid. Yes. Deemed service once affixed published. 12. Benamidar sues to claim property. Allowed. No. Barred by act. 13. Beneficial owner claims property back. Allowed. No. Recovery prohibited. 14. Property inherited by Benamidar. Benami. No. Inheritance not Benami. 15. X sends money from India to buy UK property in cousin's name. Covered. Yes. Benami even if property abroad. 16. Government confiscates but family resides in house. What happens? Possession taken. Eviction possible. 17. Appeal filed after 6 months. Valid. No. Must appeal within 45-60 days. 18. Company violates act. Who liable? Company plus directors officers in control. 19. Unknown identity used to buy land. Benami. Yes. Fictitious name clause applies. 20. Person proves money came from lawful source. Benami. No. Burden of proof satisfied. Lesson 11. Competition law. Regulatory framework. Competition law in India is governed by Competition Act, 2002. Rules and regulations issued by Competition Commission of India CCI. Earlier. MRTP Act, 1969 repealed. Administered by Competition Commission of India CCI. National Company Law Appellate Tribunal NCLAT for appeals. Supreme Court Final Appeal. Introduction. Competition law ensures free and fair market competition. Prevention of monopolies and unfair trade practices. Consumer welfare. Healthy economic growth. Objective. Promote competition, prevent anti-competitive behavior, protect consumers. Combining and closing keycap competition and economic efficiency. Competition improves. Allocative efficiency resources used where most valued. Productive efficiency produce at lowest cost. Dynamic efficiency innovation, technology. Monopoly equals inefficiency, high prices, low innovation. Combining and closing keycap competition, competition law and competition policy. Concept. Meaning. Competition. Rivalry among firms. Competition law. Legal framework to regulate anti-competitive conduct. Competition policy. Government policy promoting competition in economy. Classical building competition regime in India. Based on modern market economy principles aligning with global standards. Classical building historical perspective. MRTP Act 1969 regulated monopolies, but focused on size, not market abuse. Liberalization 1991 required modern competition law. Combining and closing keycap economic reforms and competition. Post-1991 reforms. Removal of license Raj. Increased foreign competition. Private sector growth right pointing arrow need to control abuses. Combining and closing keycap competition law. Evolution. MRTP outdated. New law based on global best practices right pointing arrow Competition Act, 2002. Combining and closing keycap Satcher Committee recommendations. Recommended updating MRTP Act for modern competition needs. Combining and closing keycap Raghavan Committee recommendations. Recommended. Replacing MRTP Act. Establishing CCI. Covering cartels, abuse of dominance, mergers and acquisitions. Combining and closing keycap Competition Act, 2002. Primary law covering. Anti-competitive agreements. Abuse of dominant position. Regulation of combinations mergers, acquisitions, amalgamations. Combining and closing keycap scheme of the Act. Parts include. Prohibition of anti-competitive agreements. Dominance abuse rules. Combinations regulation. Establishment of CCI and DG. Appeals mechanism. Combining and closing keycap ASEAN regional guidelines. Focus on. Consumer welfare. Fair markets. Cross-border enforcement. India aligns with global best practices. Combining and closing keycap important definitions. Key terms under Act. Term. Meaning. Agreement. Formal or informal understanding. Cartel. Association of competitors fixing prices market. Dominant position. Ability to operate independently of competitors. Enterprise. Any business entity. Combination. Merger acquisition crossing thresholds. Cross-mark prohibition of certain agreements. Any agreement causing appreciable adverse effect on competition AAEC is prohibited. Horizontal agreements competitors. Presumed anti-competitive. Vertical agreements supplier-distributor. Examined case by case. Combining and closing keycap bid rigging. Bid rigging and collusive bidding strictly prohibited. Example. Competitors pre-decide tender quotes. Combining and closing keycap prohibition of abuse of dominant position. Dominance is not illegal. Abuse is illegal. Examples of abuse. Unfair pricing. Limiting production. Denial of market access. Predatory pricing very low price to kill rivals combination. Combination equals merger, acquisition, or amalgamation meeting certain asset turnover thresholds. Combining and closing keycap thresholds for combination. Approximately high value limits. Dynamic and updated periodically by MCA CCI. If assets OR turnover exceed prescribed limits right pointing arrow CCI approval required. Combining and closing keycap regulation of combinations. Mandatory notice before combination. CCI examines if it reduces competition. May approve, block, or modify transaction. Combining and closing keycap Competition Commission of India CCI. Establishment. Statutory body formed under Act. Composition. Chairperson plus 6 members maximum. Restrictions. Members can take conflicting employment after office. Combining and closing keycap mail sign Director General. Appointed to investigate anti-competitive conduct. Combining and closing keycap duties and powers of CCI. Prevent anti-competitive practices, investigate complaints. Impose penalties. Approve, regulate combinations. Promote competition advocacy. Combining and closing keycap inquiries. Inquiry into. Agreements. Dominance abuse. Combinations. CCI can act. Suo modo. On complaint. On government reference. Combining and closing keycap orders after inquiry. CCI may. Impose penalty. Cease and desist order. Modify agreement. Divide enterprise. Approve block mergers. Combining and closing keycap division of dominant enterprise. In extreme cases, CCI can split a dominant firm to restore competition. Combining and closing keycap procedure and statement of objections. CCI issues show cause notice. Parties reply. Hearings conducted. Combining and closing keycap extraterritorial jurisdiction. Acts outside India affecting Indian market also covered. Combining and closing keycap interim orders. CCI may issue temporary injunctions. Combining and closing keycap appearance before CCI. Parties may appear personally or through advocates, CAs, CSCMA professionals. Combining and closing keycap rectification. CCI can correct mistakes in its orders. Combining and closing keycap execution of penalties. Penalties enforced like a civil court decree. Duties of DG. Investigate and submit report to CCI. Combining and closing keycap penalties. 4. Non-compliance. Failure to supply information, false statements. Anti-competitive conduct. Lesser penalty option for whistleblowers in cartels. Combining and closing keycap contravention by companies. Company plus responsible officers liable. Combining and closing keycap settlement commitment. Introduced in amendments. Allows businesses to settle cases before final order. Combining and closing keycap competition advocacy. CCI conducts awareness and policy consultation. Combining and closing keycap appellate mechanism. Level. Forum. First appeal. NCLAT. Final appeal. Supreme Court. Legal representation allowed. Combining and closing keycap compounding of offenses. Certain offenses can be settled by payment to avoid litigation. 30 case-based questions with answers. Case. Question. Answer. 1. 2 cement companies fixed price. Cartel. Illegal. 2. XYZ Limited offers below cost price to kill startups. Predatory pricing. Abuse. 3. Supplier forces retailer to buy only from him. Vertical restraint. Examined by CCI. 4. Bank merger above legal threshold. Combination. CCI approval required. 5. Business refuses to supply raw material to rival. Abuse of dominant position. 6. Bid cartel in government tender. Bid rigging. Penalty. 7. Pharma firm exclusive tie-up with hospitals. Vertical restraint. Investigate. 8. Social media giant uses data to kill small players. Abuse. CCI jurisdiction. 9. Retailer files complaint without proof. CCI may still inquire. 10. Online platform prefers own products. Abuse. Self-preferencing. 11. CCI imposes fine. Firm files appeal. NCLAT. 12. Two tech firms merge. No market dominance. Allowed. 13. Ample competition, price similar naturally. Not cartel. Market pattern. 14. Fake tender bidding companies. Collusion. Penalty. 15. Telecom firm blocks competitor ads. Abuse of dominance. 16. Airline merger leads to fare hike. CCI may modify block. 17. College mandates students buy only from one shop. Anti-competitive. 18. Real estate cartel fixes flat price. Illegal. 19. Startup challenges monopoly pricing. CCI may protect startups. 20. Overseas cartel affects India. CCI can act. 21. Hurt party skips NCLAT goes to SC. Invalid. Must go to NCLAT first. 22. Company hides data from DG. Penalty. 23. CEO not aware of cartel. Still liable unless proves due diligence. 24. Two companies share customers. Market allocation. Cartel. 25. Big tech delays merger intimation. Penalty. 26. Entity refuses market access. Dominant abuse. 27. Bank denies loan to competitor suppliers. AAEC. Violation. 28. Industry association fixes minimum price. Anti-competitive. 29. Enterprise offers loyalty rebates tied to exclusivity. Anti-competitive. 30. CCI orders company split. Allowed under Act. Lesson 12. Law relating to consumer protection. Regulatory framework. Consumer Protection Act, 2019. Rules and regulations. Consumer Protection E-commerce Rules, 2020. Consumer Mediation Rules, 2020. Central Consumer Protection Authority CCPA Rules, 2020. Objective. Protect consumers and ensure speedy dispute resolution. Introduction. Protects consumer rights. Ensures fair trade and product standards. Establishes three-tier redressal system. Covers e-commerce, product liability, unfair practices. Rights of consumers. Right. Meaning. Right to safety. Products free from hazard. Right to information. Product details must be accurate. Right to choose. Access to variety and competitive pricing. Right to be heard. Grievance redressal. Right to redressal. Compensation and remedy. Right to consumer education. Awareness programs. Important definitions. Term. Meaning. Consumer. Buys goods services for personal use not resale. Complainant. Consumer Registered Association Government CCPA etc. Complaint. Allegation of defect deficiency unfair practice. Defect. Fault in goods. Deficiency. Fault in service. E-commerce entity. Digital goods service provider. Unfair trade practice. Examples. Misleading ads. False price claims. Fake warranties. Bait and switch. Non-issuance of bill. Publishing misleading quality claims. Penalty. 10 lakh rupees to 50 lakh rupees plus jail for repeated offense. Counsels and dispute redressal mechanism. Three-tier structure. Level. Authority. Central. Central Consumer Protection Council. State. State Consumer Protection Council. District. District Consumer Protection Council. Central Consumer Protection Authority CCPA. Establishment. Authority to protect consumer rights. Conducts investigations, issues safety notices and orders. Procedure. Complaint right pointing arrow screening right pointing arrow investigation right pointing arrow hearing right pointing arrow orders. Investigation wing. Director General and officers. Conducts inquiry, evidence, raids. Powers. Recall defective goods. Refund orders. Penalties for misleading ads. Suo motu action. Power of district collector. Verify local violations. Inspect warehouses. Complaints to authorities. Who can file? Consumer. NGO. Government body. CCPA. Several consumers with same interest. Powers of CCPA. Power. Scope. Order recall. Unsafe products. Penalties. Misleading ads. Ban celebrities. Endorser responsibility. Direct refunds. To consumers. Refer to regulator. E.g. Misleading claim by bank right pointing arrow forward to RBI. Power to recall. Unsafe goods recalled. Refund or replacement ordered. Search and seizure. Warrants allowed. Electronic records allowed. Appeal. Against CCPA before NCDRC or High Court is applicable. District Commission. Jurisdiction. Value up to 50 lakh rupees. Procedure. Complaint filing right pointing arrow notice right pointing arrow evidence right pointing arrow order. Mediation. Encouraged for faster disposal. Findings. Order compensation. Refund. Replacement appeals. Authority. Appeal to. Time. District Commission. State Commission. 45 days. State Commission. National Commission. 30 days. National Commission. Supreme Court. 30 days. National Commission. Jurisdiction greater than 2 crore rupees. Reviews lower orders. Execution powers like civil court. Mediation. Voluntary. Confidential. Mediation cell established. Product liability. Who can be held liable? Party. Liability. Manufacturer. Defect. Misleading info. Service provider. Deficiency. Seller. Knowingly selling defective goods. Exceptions. Product misuse. Consumer ignored warnings. Offenses and penalties. Violation. Penalty. Misleading ads. 10 rupees. 50 lakh plus 2 years jail. Defective products. Refund replace compensate. E-commerce violation. Penalty plus delisting. E-commerce rules. Duties of e-commerce entities. Display seller info. Grievance officer. Return refund policy. India office for foreign platforms. Marketplace entities. Provide seller details. Not manipulate ratings. Transparent search results. Inventory entities. Liable like seller manufacturer. Direct selling. Rules apply to MLM companies. Door-to-door sellers. Duties. Register sellers. No pyramid schemes. Transparent contract prohibition. Pyramid schemes. Money circulation schemes. Protection of good faith actions. Officers protected for bona fide decisions. Act not in derogation. Supplementary to other laws FSSAI, BIS etc. 20 case-based questions with answers. Case. Question. Answer. 1. Online order not delivered. Can he file complaint? Yes, under deficiency in service. 2. Shampoo causes allergic reaction and no warning. Product liability. Yes, manufacturer liable for no warning. 3. Restaurant adds service charge forcibly. Legal. No, unfair trade practice. 4. E-commerce hides seller details. Violation. Yes, violates e-commerce rules. 5. Mobile explodes after normal usage. Who liable? Manufacturer plus seller if negligent. 6. Airline refuses refund for cancelled flight. Remedy. File at District Commission. 7. Medical negligence in hospital. Commission jurisdiction. Yes. Service deficiency. 8. Celebrity endorses false pesticide claim. Liable. Yes under CCPA endorser duty. 9. Free product but defective. Consumer. No monetary consideration equals not consumer. 10. NGO files mass complaint. Valid. Yes. Representational capacity. 11. Insurance delays claim without reason. Relief. Compensation plus interest. 12. Real estate delay possession. Remedy. Consumer commission plus refund interest. 13. Bank unfairly deducts charges. Report. Both CCPA and Banking Ombudsman. 14. Gym advertises weight loss guarantee. False promise. Misleading advertisement. 15. Car sold with odometer tampering. Who liable? Seller plus possible criminal complaint. 16. Food delivery app delivers expired food. Violation. Unsafe food. Penalty plus recall. 17. Consumer misuses product and damage. Liability. Exception. No claim. 18. Airline loses luggage. Liability. Compensation for deficiency. 19. Hospital charges undisclosed fees. Action. Unfair trade practice. 20. Complaint rejected ex parte. Remedy. Appeal to State Commission within 45 days. Lesson 13. Legal Metrology. Regulatory Framework. Legal Metrology Act, 2009. Legal Metrology Packaged Commodities Rules, 2011. Legal Metrology General Rules, 2011. Essential Commodities Act, 1955. Purpose. To regulate weights and measures, ensure accurate trade, protect consumers, and prevent fraud. Introduction. Legal metrology deals with standard units of measurement, testing and verification of weights and measures, labeling and declarations on packaged goods, ensuring accuracy and consumer protection in trade. Applies to manufacturers, dealers, importers, service providers, e-commerce packaging compliance, International Organization of Legal Metrology OIML, intergovernmental body, establishes international standards of measuring instruments. India is a member objective, global uniformity and reliability in legal measurement systems. OIML certificate system for measuring instruments. System for certification of measuring equipment weighing scales, meters. Helps global trade by mutual recognition of certificates. India accepts OIML certificates for certain categories. Definitions. Term. Meaning. Legal metrology. Laws of measurement and instruments used in trade. Weight measure. Standard units to quantify goods services. Manufacturer. Makes weight measure device. Dealer. Sells or distributes weight measure. Verification. Checking correctness of measuring instruments. Stamping. Certification seal after verification. Key terms also include packer, importer, pre-packaged commodity, label declarations, standard weights and measures, government prescribed standard units for weight kilogram, gram, length meter, volume liter temperature, time, electricity etc. Master standards kept at National Physical Laboratory. All commercial weights measures must match standards. Manufacturers, etc. to maintain records and registers. Every manufacturer, repairer, dealer must maintain production records, sales register, verification certificates, inventory and stamping records. Records must be shown to inspector upon demand. Registration for importer of weight or measure. Mandatory registration with director, legal metrology. Required before importing weighing machines, meters etc. BIS OIML standards compliance needed. Approval of model. Before manufacture import sale, model approval required by central government. Applies to weighing scales, water gas meters, petrol diesel pumps, weigh bridges, speedometers, taximeters etc. Prohibition on manufacture, repair or sale without license. A person cannot manufacture, repair, sell, weights measures unless licensed by legal metrology authority. Unstamped equipment cannot be used. Offenses and penalties. Offense. Penalty. Using unverified weight. Fine plus seizure. False weight or measure. Fine plus imprisonment. Incorrect declarations. Penalty on manufacturer packer. Short weighing. Penalty plus imprisonment. Tampering seal. Criminal offense. Penalty for counterfeiting seal. Forging certification seal equals imprisonment up to 1 year plus fine. Serious offense. Similar to counterfeit government stamp. Compounding of offense. Certain offenses can be settled by paying compounding fee. Avoids court proceedings. Compounding officer appointed by government. Offenses by companies. Company plus directors managers liable. Due diligence defense available if they prove no knowledge reasonable care power of central government to make rules. May issue rules on weights and measures standards, licensing procedure, verification and stamping, imported goods and packaging norms. Penalties and compliance. Power of state government to make rules. Can make rules for local inspection, fees, licensing procedure for traders, better enforcement. Essential Commodities Act, 1955. Relevance here. Ensures availability of essential goods at fair price. Controls hoarding, black marketing, adulteration. Government can regulate packaging, labeling, weights and measures. Examples. Sugar packing rules. Food grain weight norms. Fertilizer bag labeling compliance. 20 case-based questions with answers. Case. Question. Answer. 1. Shop uses unverified scale. Allowed. Crossmark no, violation of Act. 2. Online seller does not show MRP. Offense. Yes, package commodity rule violation. 3. Petrol pump meter tampered. Offense. Yes, meter fraud. Criminal penalty. 4. Importer without LM registration. Implication. Crossmark cannot import legally. 5. Incorrect net weight on food pack. Action. Complaint plus penalty plus recall possible. 6. Truck weighbridge unsealed. Can government seize? Yes. 7. Jewelry shop no certification on weighing scale. Penalty. Fine plus seizure. 8. OIML certificate accepted in India. Yes, for approved categories. Valid. 9. Consumer short weighed 100 grams rice. Remedy. File complaint. Penalty on trader. 10. Factory fails to maintain weight records. Consequence. Inspection plus fine. 11. Manufacturer without model approval. Can sell. Crossmark number. 12. Counterfeit stamping seal found. Result. Criminal prosecution. 13. E-commerce. No return weight guarantee. Action. Must disclose. Unfair practice if hidden. 14. Broken certification seal on machine. Legal. Crossmark number. 15. Dealer refuses record inspection. Offense. Yes. 16. Incorrect expiry date labeling. Covered. Under metrology and FSSAI. 17. LPG cylinder lesser weight. Complaint 2. Oil company plus legal metrology. 18. Weight machine repair unlicensed. Permitted. Crossmark number. 19. Company claims no knowledge of tampering. Liability. Company plus officer unless due diligence proven. 20. Packaged milk. No MRP printed. Offense. Yes. Mandatory label violation. Topic. Key point. Law. Legal Metrology Act, 2009. Ensures accuracy in weight measure. Bodies. OIML, National Physical Lab. Paperwork. Licenses plus records plus stamping. Packaged goods rule. MRP, QTY, address, month, consumer care. Offenses. False measurement, misuse, forgery. Remedy. Complaint, seizure, penalty, prosecution. Lesson 14. Real Estate Regulation and Development Law RERA. Introduction Sec. 1. Enforced in 2016 to regulate real estate sector. Brings transparency, prevents fraud, protects homebuyers. Mandatory registration of real estate projects and agents. Objective. Promoter accountability, timely delivery, financial discipline, consumer rights protection. Salient features of the Act. Establishment of RERA authority and appellate tribunal. Mandatory registration for projects greater than prescribed area or units. Promoter to deposit 70% funds in escrow. Standard model sale agreement. Defect liability for 5 years. Prior approvals and informed consent of buyers. Grievance mechanism with fast track adjudication. Penalties including jail. Advantages of RERA. Buyers. Developers. Market. Timely delivery. Certainty in approvals. Transparency. Clarity on carpet area. Access to regulated funds. Trust and formalization. Grievance redress. Fair business environment. Curtail black money. Important definitions. Term. Meaning. Carpet area. Net usable floor area excluding walls and shafts. Promoter. Includes developer, builder, society, government body, landowner. Real estate project. Development of building, apartment, plot etc. Allotee. Home buyer who received allotment. Real estate agent. Middleman selling marketing real estate. Ongoing project. Project not completed or without occupancy certificate. Registration of real estate project and agents. Registration under RERA portal mandatory before advertising or selling. Documents. Title deed. Approvals. Plans and layout. Project timeline. Escrow bank details. Promoter details. Prior registration of real estate project. Applies where land greater than 500 SQ meters or greater than 8 units. Ongoing projects without completion certificate. Cannot market or accept advances without registration. Projects exempt from RERA. Less than 500 square meters or less than 8 units. Completed projects with completion certificate renovation repair without marketing sale units. Obligation of authority on lapse revocation. If registration lapse is revoked, authority may stop promoter from further sale. Freeze bank account. Take control of project. Permit remaining work via association of allottees or competent agency. Registration of real estate agents. Agents must register with RERA before selling properties of registered projects. Obligations. No misleading advertisements. Maintain records. Facilitate compliance. Functions and duties of promoter. Honest disclosures and no false ads. Deposit 70% funds in separate bank escrow. Execute registered agreement for sale. Provide structural defect warranty 5 years. Obtain necessary approvals. Share project details online. Not make changes without 2-3 buyer consent. Timely possession plus documents rights and duties of allottees. Rights. Full project information. Timely possession. Compensation for delay. Refund for default by promoter. Duties. Make timely payments. Participate in association formation. Follow agreement terms. Real Estate Regulatory Authority RERA. Purpose. Regulate project and agent registration. Investigate. Issue orders. Protect buyers. Composition of authority. Chairperson plus 2 members. Appointed by government. Qualifications in law, finance, real estate, economics. Central Advisory Council. Advises on implementation of Act. Establishment. Under central government. Members. Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Chair. Officials from State GOPs RERA authorities. Industry associations. Functions. Monitor growth. Recommendations for policy and reforms. Advise government on consumer protection. Appellate Tribunal REAT. Hears appeals against RERA decisions. Establishment. State-level tribunal. Jurisdiction. Promoter. Agent. Buyer appeals. Powers. Civil court powers. Can call witnesses. Records. Summoning. Right to legal representation. Advocates. CAs. CS is allowed. Execution of orders. Treated like civil court decree. Appeal to High Court. On question of law within prescribed time. Role of company secretaries. Compliance advisory. Drafting agreements. Due diligence and title verification regulatory filings. Appearing before RERA REIT. One-stop advisory services. Registration of projects agents. RERA audit. Project escrow structuring. Buyer agreement vetting. NRI investor advisory. As legal representative. Can appear before authorities and draft pleadings. Offenses, penalties and adjudication. Act. Penalty. Selling without registration. Up to 10% project cost. Non-compliance with orders. Daily penalty. False information. Penalty plus imprisonment. Agent without registration. Fine. Offenses by companies. Company plus directors liable unless proved due diligence. Compounding of offenses. Certain offenses can be settled on payment of sum instead of imprisonment. Power to adjudicate. Authority appointed to determine. Compensation interest. Refund claims. Miscellaneous. Quarterly updates by promoter. Digitized filing and public database. Consumer protection priority. Act to have overriding effect. RERA prevails over. Consumer Protection Act. Local laws. Contradictory contracts. 20 case-based questions with answers. Case. Question. Answer. 1. 10-unit project without registration. Can promoter advertise? Crossmark no. Greater than 8 units requires RERA registration. 2. Buyer demands refund due to delay. Right. Full refund plus interest. 3. Promoter wants layout change. Needs buyer consent. 2/3 allottees consent. 4. Advertise before registration. Offense. Yes. 5. Project completion certificate issued. RERA applies. Crossmark no. Exempt. 6. Buyer refuses to pay installment. Developer delay claim. Crossmark number. 7. No OC but possession given. Allowed. Crossmark illegal. 8. Agent selling without registration. Action. Fine plus prohibition. 9. Promoter uses funds for another project. Allowed. Crossmark escrow violation. 10. Structural defect within 3 years. Responsibility. Promoter must rectify. 11. Buyer complains after possession. Maintainable. Yes, up to 5 years for defects. 12. State government overrides RERA order. Valid. Crossmark RERA Act prevails. 13. Tribunal imposes penalty. Executable as civil court decree. 14. Buyer represented by CS. Permissible. Yes. 15. Ongoing project WO completion certificate. RERA applicable. Yes. 16. Promoter fails to update quarterly status. Consequence. Penalty. 17. Guarantee brochure false info. Action. RERA complaint plus penalty. 18. Buyer dies. Legal heir demands possession. Right. Yes. 19. Renovation without sale units. Registration. Crossmark exempt. 20. Appeal to Supreme Court from REAT. Possible. Only after High Court appeal on law.